Hey, everybody. This is your daily dose of all things royal. Harry is just digging himself into a deeper hole. It is clear the end goal that this couple has is getting back their IPP status and this security. Harry and Meghan are sticking to a false narrative. Actually, they're enforcing this false narrative between the Netflix mockumentary and Harry's book, which is about to come out. They need this security because they don't feel protected and they can't go back to the UK. And what is very manipulative here is that so many lies have been thrown out that it's deflected what really happened in the very beginning to where people started to call them out and say, no, that's not true. At this point, so much time has passed that many people have forgotten how we got here. So what I'm going to do today is go over exactly why they are pushing so hard on this false narrative of being chased by the paparazzi and that the media and the press are leaking stories left and right about them. We all know that these are lies. It's all towards building up this facade, or I want to say the optics, that's the word, optics of them needing to be protected because they are so damn special. So special that Harry, if he's on this special visa, probably will get extended, as well as force the taxpayers of the United States of America to have to pay their $5 million plus a year security bill. No, thank you. So let's go back in time to when Meghan and Harry dropped on their Sussex Royal Instagram account that they were quitting their job, essentially. Simultaneously, on January 8th, 2020, not only did they post this on their Instagram account, but then they published the SussexRoyal.com website. On day zero, SussexRoyal.com laid out Meghan and Harry's plans and was created as a source of factual information about their new roles that they would be taking on. Now, mind you, they hadn't even gotten the approval from the Queen, but they laid it all out in the attempt to force the hand of the family to get what they wanted. Even though that Meghan and Harry swear up and down that they did not want to step away from the royal family, Meghan had no intention on staying. And this whole false narrative about how the palace was so mean and didn't protect them and, let them down and betrayed them is BS, because they bought this domain, SussexRoyal.com, in March 2019. At that time, the Royal Foundation did not split up yet. That didn't happen till June of 2019. There is evidence in the HTML code showing that they had been working on this website months before it went live on January 8th. So when they went live on January 8th, they had their full plan laid out. And it was all a matter of, okay, here, we're laying this out. We're going to force the hand of the monarchy, and this is what we want. They had every intention of going to California all along via the route of Canada. Looking at the statement now and seeing that they wanted to balance their time between the United Kingdom and North America, if they were so interested to raise their son with an appreciation for the royal tradition into which he was born, they didn't need to move to North America. They could have launched Archwell in the UK and ran that charity and been part of the royal family, but not taking on any type of duty to represent the Queen. They could have had that happy life, but the reason why they didn't do it, not because they felt the invasion of the media, it was because they didn't want anybody looking at what they were doing with their business, Archwell. And the reason why that they had opened up 11 companies in Delaware should answer that for you. In the UK, they would not have been able to get away with that. Also, let's say they did get their half in, half out and wanted to exploit the royal brand and monetize off of it. In addition to the charities that they partner with and taking 95% of that money to fund their financially independent lifestyle, this would open up a can of worms, considering now the United States would probably want to audit the monarchy's finances and opening up the door for scandal. And I think the Queen saw that, and that's why she said no. Now that we got that out of the way, on January 8th, they also had posted this about the security, and here is where it was written that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are classified as internationally protected people, which mandates this level of security. So they were asking for this special status from day one. The Queen slapped that down and made them remove it from the website because that was something that still had to be hashed out because it was publicly funded. And that was a decision that the Queen could not make on her own. She needed the counsel of the Ravik. What followed after the Sandringham Summit was on January 18th, Buckingham Palace issued a statement laying out the terms of this separation or transition for the Sussexes. And they were very clear at the bottom here. Buckingham Palace does not comment on the details of security arrangements. There are well-established independent processes to determine the need for publicly funded security. That was very clearly defined. At that moment in time, they were still trying to figure out how this was going to work, considering they were planning to live abroad. And it really put the burden on the country, Canada at the time, to be the responsible party to pick up the tab for their 24/7 security. And as a result of not getting what they wanted or the outcome they desired from the Sandringham Summit, this has been an ongoing vendetta that Meghan and Harry has had since that day. So a month later, they update their website with the terms of their transition. And despite Buckingham Palace saying that they still have to go over some processes for the security and are not allowed to comment further, these two decide to go ahead and make sure that everyone knows how special and important they are and why they need this continued effective security to protect them by putting words in the monarchy's mouth and stating something that the palace did not confirm in their statement, where it says here, it is agreed that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will continue to require effective security to protect them and their son. Well, who agreed to that? And this is how Meghan and Harry force the hand of things that they want. And what they're failing to understand is that it doesn't work. It just makes them look stupid. And since they made it their mission to emphasize on this one point, because they felt it was so important, it would have been the appropriate time to put in that they were willing to pay for this security because it was so important, if that indeed was the truth that Harry did offer, which I don't believe for 1 second that he did. They were really trying to grift off of the Duchy of Cornwall. They were willing to position themselves, say, well, we don't want to take money from the sovereign grant. But when you look at their website and you read through the actual percentage of the sovereign grant, it was really only 5% of what made up of the total funding that they would be receiving. 95% of that funding came from the Duchy of Cornwall. And they never said on that website that they were going to give that up. And what Harry is not telling people or not broadcasting was that his father was the one who was paying for the security all the way up until 2021. So when he is on camera in the Netflix mockumentary saying that their security is being pulled and they're not going to be protected and they're so worried and history is repeating itself because of what happened with his mother, this is all part of the manipulation. Watch it closely here. This clip was from episode 5 of the Netflix mockumentary.
Wednesday, the something of March. These next few months is when we're going to be at our most vulnerable, when the press will no doubt create some sort of feeding frenzy.
So Harry explains that this is March 11th, which would be a Wednesday, right after the final engagement that they had in the UK to end their life as a working royal. Harry was on his way back to Vancouver Island in Canada. And this is the next clip that they play.
The Duke of Sussex stepping off his plane, as you can see there. Clearly a number of questions still to be answered.
Will they still get royal protection when they live overseas?
Logically, the audience is thinking, okay, it's March. He gets back to Vancouver Island. This is the question on his mind. Will he get protection? Won't he get protection? And what they're showing us is not what happened in March, it's what happened in January after the Sandringham Summit. So the clip continues, and mind you, they're telling the story as if what we just saw was in the time frame of March 2020.
By the time that I got back from the UK after that March trip, the whole place was completely surrounded.
And here is where I'm going to call BS on this mofo. And the reason why this story doesn't pan out, and I don't believe that there were people swarming where they were in Canada, was because when Harry came back, if he came back on the 12th, let's say, of March, he was definitely not swarmed by people because people were afraid to go out. At that moment in history, everybody was going into closing down their businesses and staying inside. In fact, Justin Trudeau had been echoing that week that people need to stay inside and isolate because of the surge in cases that they were seeing. His wife, Sophie Trudeau, got sick the week before. So this was not something that, it just started and they had to get out before they closed the borders. Cases started popping up in that area since January. So people were legit scared and they were not congregating at Harry's home to get his picture.
Individuals trying to jump over the fence and take photographs over the wall.
That guy, one, doesn't have a camera in his hand, and two, looks like he's about to deliver mail because it got delivered to the wrong house. Look at how he's dressed. He looks like he's from the area.
I'd never experienced that before.
I've just seen this bloke. He looked at me as I drove in.
Then they show this next clip, which makes you laugh because here's a guy who shows up in a cab, nonetheless, well-dressed, no camera. Which paparazzi that would randomly show up in a cab in the hopes to get a glimpse of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex? And from what it looks like from the surveillance is that somebody is reviewing footage that was already taken, and they're in the system at which it was 12:57, and to me it appears that the date is January 24th, 2020. As you can see in the corner there.
Asked me, would they remove our security? I said they'll never do that. Meghan's background, her heritage, the well-documented hate campaigns against us, suspicious packages being sent.
And here is an example of Harry making a mountain out of a molehill. He is pulling on the heartstrings of the unsuspected audience in order to paint this narrative that, all of this stuff is going on when half of the drama they've been creating themselves, in order to paint the picture that when their security got pulled away, they were left vulnerable in this state.
They've decided that our security will be removed on the 31st of March, thereby leaving me less than 3 weeks to find security for my family.
Here is the nasty and evil deception that Harry is doing here, and wanting people to think that it's the family that said, no, we're not going to give you any more security. We're going to pull it on March 31st because we are evil people. He's not telling you the full picture. It wasn't the family that said, no, you're not going to have security after March 31st. It was Justin Trudeau from Canada who said, sorry, Harry and Meghan, we cannot continue to keep paying for your security because you're not in Canada on official royal duties, in which the taxpayer didn't want to foot the bill because they were in the midst of a pandemic and people were losing their jobs, as well as the government had to give out emergency funds to each and every citizen of Canada in order for them to be able to eat and pay some of their bills while in the shutdown that was underway. The estimated cost to protect these two and their whole entire entourage is around $5 million a year. So Charles foot the bill for the first year, and then in 2021, Harry's been on this vendetta to sue the government in order to get this back, which America will then be stuck with it if they get this classification back and status back. And that's $5 million a year for the rest of their lives that American taxpayer money is going to have to fund. So according to the Royalty Protection Squad that does take care of the royals, it appears that each royal has up to 5 highly trained armed officers to look after them. There is also an intelligence unit to assess any threat from terrorists and fixated persons using information from other police forces and the security services, meaning they will have access to people's information. And this is something that we definitely don't want, seeing how manipulative and conniving these two are to control the narrative. And let's not forget, the biggest perk of all is the immunity. So if they want to evade taxes or commit any type of crime, they don't have to show up in court. So yeah, no kidding. As Meghan says, the stakes are high. They needed to double down on this drama in order to paint the optics that they really needed this security, and they're so important because they're so chased by the paparazzi, like Diana.
And then just like that, this thing called COVID.
Officials
Again, the editing is so sneaky. First, they show a quick flash of Washington being the first case confirmed, and then they quickly go over to the cases in China. The first case in the US was in January. As I had stated earlier, that by March, people were mandated to stay indoors. So again, this blows up Harry's story about being swarmed by paparazzi when he came back from the UK in March.
Location was exposed. We knew our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were, so we weren't going to be safe there.
And whose fault is that, Megan? So the story that Netflix was parlaying was backpedaling into the Oprah interview where Harry blatantly lies, in which I think the Daily Mail should have sued Harry for this.
I then got told, short notice, that security was going to be removed.
Again, it wasn't short notice. It was the last week in February when he found out that Canada was not going to fund their security anymore.
By this point, courtesy of the Daily Mail, the world knew our exact location.
Did you guys catch that lie?
Courtesy of the Daily Mail, the world knew our exact location.
No, Harry. Courtesy of you and your wife, who have had a habit of leaking information in the past to the Mirror, this showed up in the end of December of 2019, where you guys were staying in Vancouver. So don't play like the Daily Mail was the one that hunted you down to find out where you were and expose this and thus cause all this drama. Oh, and who could forget when your wife called Backred to take photos of her while she was strolling with Archie to make it look like, oh, you got paparazzi stalking you in the month of January while you were away at the Sandringham Summit. There's a very good chance that this is the person that Megan called from Backred to take her photo.
Dawned on me, hang on a second, the borders could be closed. We're going to have our security removed. Who knows how long lockdown's going to be? The world knows where we are. It's not safe. It's not secure. We probably need to get out
So
of
what
here.
security did you have at the time that was going to be removed?
We had our UK security.
So you got word from overseas that we're taking away your security. Why were they doing that?
Their justification is a change in status.
Do you see how misleading this was? Nowhere did they say that this was Canada's decision to not pay for their security. Their status changed because they stepped back as working royals. That's it. Canada made that decision to pull the security. If you didn't know any better, the way that they led this conversation implied that it was the actual family and the monarchy or the institution that said, no, we're going to cut off your security. Of course, Harry never discloses in this Oprah interview that his father had picked up the tab for the last year. And so this is now about keeping those optics that they need this protection and how horrible the family was because they protect the other members of the royal family, but they don't want to protect them.
I did anything they told me to do. Of course I did, because it was also through the lens of, and we'll protect you.
Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family.
I think they really believe that people either are stupid or enough time has passed that people won't remember all the events that took place because they had so many puff pieces that they had been pushing out. Now, I saw these tweets on Reddit and I thought to put it in this video because Evan Z, I've seen this Twitter user before come up, and a lot of the things that this person has tweeted in the past have turned out to be spot on. And apparently they have had some sort of interaction or have been in the environment around people connected to the Harkles. So I figured I'd share this with you. Now, nothing is confirmed, but I thought that it would be interesting to raise to get more awareness around it and get your thoughts. So Evan Z had stated that the leaks are not from Buckingham Palace, they're from Meghan Markle, which I don't think anybody is surprised around that one. But it's these tweets that had me raise my eyes a little bit. The first one says, many on the Sussex's team, particularly #Archwell, have Twitter accounts where they monitor trends, pull evidence of violent and racist attacks, etc., and send to security and legal team to build a case for security in the UK, among other things. Mandana led this team. Well. Mandana was the president of Archwell. And yeah, she looked like she was one of those who was an eager beaver to please and kiss ass to Meghan Markle. I didn't get a good vibe from her, but whatever. I believe it. And then it says here, within Archwell, based on the stories Mandana, Meghan, and Harry had sold their teams, many in their camp hated William and Catherine and would, by themselves, start planting fake stories and rumors against the duo. They were also behind the media blowing up stories about, and he's talking about the Caribbean. The tweets continue, and it does give some interesting information around the efforts to sabotage William and Catherine's trip to the Caribbean. Now, feel free to pause this. Again, let me reiterate, I don't know if this is true or not. This has just been going around Twitter. And what I can tell you is that it does sound pretty solid in just seeing past tweets from Evan Z. So I do have a level of trust that there is some truth to this, but I cannot confirm. That's for you guys to decide and come to your own conclusion. What we're about to see, though, in Spare, I think, will emphasize even more this need to have the security and the half in, half out, and really getting back at the family for not saying yes to the original plan that they had laid out back on January 8th, 2020. What I'm willing to bet the farm on is that come Sunday, for the two interviews that Harry is about to give, one with 60 Minutes and the other one with ITV, I will bet that there will be inconsistencies because the amount of lies that have been uncovered, it's almost impossible to be able to remember all of it in order to tell your story straight because the story has been shifting in many different forms. And clearly, as you can see, they couldn't even get their own timeline right on when they came over to Los Angeles because they had been lying that this wasn't a plan all along, which it was a plan all along. This couple has thrown out so many lies. It's inevitable that we're going to find some inconsistencies on Sunday, and I'll be there to catch them. Don't you worry. What I'm really concerned about is ensuring that the facts do not get twisted. Harry is painting a facade, a false facade, to create these optics in order to make the public put pressure on Charles and whoever else that's going to be deciding this security for the couple. This is important, guys, because for Americans, we're going to get stuck with paying this bill. And it's also a threat to national security if they have this kind of access to intelligence, which is something that I don't want to see these two ungrateful grifters have access to. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below. I will be back soon with more content, as always. In the meantime, be safe, and I will see you soon. Bye.
I was such a fraud.